A cute chibi witch welcomes readers from outside a large stadium. A blonde woman in a beige suit bursts through a doorway. "You guys," she shouts, her eyes wide with shock. She discovers a room full of cats, one held by an ashy-haired man, and wonders why. Clutching her head in despair, she screams, "Why has everyone turned into cats?" The cats dream of their human pastimes, like checking out famous restaurants. They also recall going to karaoke, visiting family, and having a night out. The ashy-haired man explains they're stuck as cats after using up all their love energy. Frustrated, the woman laments that she warned them, and now wonders how they'll get love to change back. The man calmly holds a ginger cat as the others look on from their perches. A flashback shows the handsome idol group performing brilliantly on a brightly lit stage. With new resolve, the woman holds a paint roller, ready for the task ahead. A massive, beautiful cat with golden eyes appears, enchanting the people nearby. As the giant cat departs, an article introduces the renowned producer Jung Hyeri. A dark-haired woman watches Hyeri's interview, where she's asked about predicting her group's success. The woman listens with a bored expression as Hyeri discusses the company's opposition. Hyeri confronts the dark-haired woman in her office, demanding to know what she was just handed. Furious, Hyeri accuses her of seeking revenge for embarrassing the CEO on air. The CEO coldly informs Hyeri she's being taken off her current project. Hyeri desperately pleads to stay with the group she raised, citing their bond. The CEO dismisses her sentiment, calling bonds and responsibility just a means to make money. Smiling, she declares that such personal feelings are unnecessary at their company. The CEO dismisses a bowing Hyeri, telling her she can go. Hyeri storms off, sarcastically apologizing for being so personal. Confused by the outburst, the CEO asks what Hyeri is doing. Hyeri declares she's quitting, unable to work for a company with such values. Later, Hyeri cheerfully calls an investor, starting her new journey. She pitches a new idol group, admitting she has no trainees yet. Standing alone at night, Hyeri reflects on being left behind and vows to succeed. She looks at a picture of her former group, acknowledging their bright but demanding future. With resolve, she wishes them happiness, accepting she must follow her heart. Hyeri stands outside, solidifying her decision to leave. She whirls around, startled by a sudden noise or feeling. A dark force seems to pull her down as she cries out in shock. On the ground, she finds a small, stern-looking gray cat. She kneels down, softly asking the cat if it was abandoned too. Confiding in her new companion, she admits she was also kicked out for getting too attached. The cat affectionately rubs against her, and she gushes over how cute it is. As the cat strikes a pose, she thinks she hears it ask to be taken home. Flustered, Hyeri tries to talk herself out of adopting the cute creature. The cat lets out an adorable yawn, reminding her of the lifetime of responsibility. Wrapped in a towel, Hyeri struggles to wash the feisty cat, telling it to stay still. She holds the squirming cat firmly in the bath, pleading for it to stop struggling. "Yeah!" A loud scream echoes from an apartment building at night. An exhausted Hyeri lies on the couch, wondering why the defiant cat won't listen. She walks past the sofa, where the gray cat now rests. Her expression softens into a warm, happy smile. Later, as Hyeri sleeps peacefully, the cat watches over her intently. A man's hand reaches out, gently touching the sleeping Hyeri. She awakens to find a shirtless, ashy-haired man sitting on her bed. A handsome, ashy-haired man with golden eyes gives a charming smile. A light brown-haired man sleeps restlessly, muttering about a nymph. A chibi character offers encouragement as Hyeri sits on a bench, sighing that finding a trainee is difficult. Her expression shifts, a determined look in her red eyes as she glances around. Watching an ashy-haired man walk past, she thinks that none of the guys she's seen feel right. She suddenly springs up, asking the man if he'd be interested in becoming a trainee. "Kaiha!" Hyeri screams in terror, her eyes wide with shock. Waking up in her home, she confronts the shirtless, ashy-haired man in her doorway, demanding to know who he is. He poses playfully amidst a background of roses, as she calls him, completely insane. He grabs her wrist, intensely asking if she really doesn't remember, or is just pretending not to. His golden eyes are serious as he stares at her. A cute chibi version of him looks heartbroken as he asks if she really doesn't remember. Furious, she shouts that there's no way she'd remember that. She recalls the crazy guy as a cat's paws suddenly kick out from beside her. The ashy-haired man leans over her in bed, asking if she remembers now. Later, he explains that receiving a human's love allows him to turn back into a person temporarily, which he confirms. He shows his palm, explaining that a pink jelly gauge on his paw pads fills up with love to enable his transformation. He offers to prove it all night, prompting two nearby women to gossip as Hayeri desperately shushes them. The ashy-haired man looks on with a confident smile. He startles Hayeri by revealing that there are others who also turned into cats. Horrified, Hayeri wonders how she could possibly debut people who turn into cats. She firmly refuses, stating she can't debut someone with that kind of risk. Back at her old company, Hayeri says she's just picking up her stuff, insisting she had no choice. A dark-haired man named Dong Young smirks, teasing that no other company could handle her personality. Dong Young, leader of the idol group BS, offers to smooth things over with the CEO for her. Noticing he reeks of alcohol, Hayeri questions his presence. He explains she was reassigned to their group before she quit, leaving them in a crisis. Hayeri forces a tight smile, thinking what a pain this situation is. Dong Young taunts her, claiming no trainee will trust a producer without a company behind them. She retorts that no producer would likely want to take on his group either. Enraged that he's drinking openly, she slams her hand against a wall. She confronts Dong Young, asking whose fault the group's crisis is, leaving him confused. He angrily pins her against a car, blaming her for dooming them, and then running off. Defeated, he questions how someone who abandoned her group can even think of debuting idols again. Dong Young complains to the ashy-haired man that their CEO is far too popular. In the parking garage, the ashy-haired man smiles brightly. He closes his eyes and admits with a grin that he's jealous. Suddenly, Hayeri slaps his hand away, demanding to know what he's doing. Two fans spot the group, pointing and excitedly whispering about the man with silver hair. The ashy-haired man flashes a sparkling, charming smile. Dong Young glares as the fans react with an "oh my." The ashy-haired man leans in and whispers to a startled Hayeri that his cover might be blown. Hayeri looks away with a determined expression. He watches her, a knowing smile on his face. She steps in front of him, shouting defensively, "He's my trainee." The sudden declaration leaves them both looking momentarily stunned. The ashy-haired man begins to walk away with a slight smile. Exhausted, Hayeri slumps against a wall after the confrontation. He turns back with a smirk, asking why she claimed he was her trainee. She stammers nervously, insisting that of course he is. His playful expression vanishes, replaced by a serious, questioning gaze. The gray cat boasts about his celebrity-like looks, while another cat finds the situation amusing. Now human, the ashy-haired man demands Hayeri take him under her wing, but she questions why. He poses charmingly amidst roses, simply stating, "Because I'm pretty." After a moment of silence, the two stand apart on the brick path. His confidence shatters as he panics, asking if she doesn't think he's pretty. He continues his frantic thought, unable to comprehend the possibility. She gently lifts his chin, getting his attention. Hayeri tells him she understands, and that it's now his turn to listen to her. She holds him in his cat form, her finger under his chin. Smiling slyly, Hayeri officially accepts him as her trainee. The cat is overjoyed, realizing his pretty line actually worked. He suddenly bursts into tears, shocking Hayeri, who asks why he's crying. The scene transitions to a peaceful view of the city across the river. Disguised in sunglasses and a scarf, Hayeri holds her similarly dressed cat, lamenting her situation. She leans against a pillar, exasperatedly demanding to know where his teammates are. A man with a guitar case walks by, and she thinks he looks suspicious. The man with the guitar case continues on his way. The cat on her shoulder wags its tail excitedly as Hayeri asks what it's doing. The cat suddenly leaps to the ground and stretches as Hayeri calls out to it. She shouts in frustration as the cat runs off after the man. Defeated, Hayeri realizes she's lost him and wonders where they went. She furiously shouts at the empty air, asking if they're really leaving her behind. The brown-haired man plays his guitar on a bench, thinking of someone who came to mind. The ashy-haired man holds Hayeri, telling her to wait. The guitarist smiles, thinking about strengthening his desire to be a singer. Leaning close, the ashy-haired man whispers that this is what he wants too. In a flashback, a group in traditional Korean clothing stands together as someone vows, "Never again." The guitarist, now with long hair, cries as he swears he'll never sing with them again. The ashy-haired man explains to Hayeri his plan to make the others desperate to be singers. He grabs her shoulders, reassuringly asking what she's worried about. With renewed confidence, she asks if he has forgotten who she is, proudly stating her name, Jang Hyeri. The ashy-haired man stares at her, a serious and impressed look on his face. Hayuri spots the guitarist, putting his instrument down on the bench. She approaches him with a bright smile, offering him her business card. The guitarist looks up in surprise, confused as to why she's talking to him. Hayuri cheerfully apologizes for being sudden, guessing that he must be shy. She points to the ashy-haired man and announces he will be in the group with him. The two men glare at each other intensely as someone wonders if they already know one another. The guitarist refuses to sing with them again, while Hayuri tries to scout the ashy-haired man, who says it's not his business. Hayuri looks completely bewildered by the unfolding drama. Rumble. The two men face off as Chibi Cat thinks, at least, not with you. The guitarist scoffs that his situation is better than being a parasite. The ashy-haired man glares back, asking if he's refusing to join. The guitarist confirms he's rejecting the offer because of the ashy-haired man. Hayuri is shocked he's rejecting her, but the ashy-haired man coolly states they were never partners. The guitarist turns and walks away from the tense scene. He shouts over his shoulder that he doesn't want to do it. Wham! A sudden impact startles Hayuri as the ashy-haired man walks past her. The guitarist suddenly grabs her arm, making her gasp in surprise. Whoa, he pulls her close, his expression dark and intense. Seokpil gives Wansang a piggyback ride, wondering why he's stuck doing this. Wansang complains about the ride while Hayuri looks on, annoyed by his comment. With a huff, Wansang glares back over Seokpil's shoulder. Roar, a cat, suddenly appears with a card, startling a chibi Hayuri. Hayuri turns to Wansang, looking like she's about to ask a question. She asks how he and Seokpil ended up cursed in the first place. Wansang solemnly confesses it was his fault, as he was the one they hated. A flashback begins, showing his memories of meeting Manchun and his former group. He recalls a simpler time when they were all just ordinary people. Back in the present, Wansang worries that the others now hate him, just like Manchun does. Hayuri looks utterly confused by his explanation. Wansang smiles faintly, dismissing the topic as none of her business. He gently reaches out and touches her hair, startled. Hayuri apologizes as he explains he was just fixing her messy hair. Hayuri brushes it off and enthusiastically tells them it's time to get going. Wansang quietly watches her walk ahead. Later, Hayuri grabs Wansang's shirt, demanding to know what's with him. Wansang simply smiles with a knowing, "Ah." Leaning toward Hayuri, he comments on how heavy Seokpil is. Wansang gently lays the exhausted Seokpil on the couch, saying he brought it on himself. Hayuri points out his actions contradict his words, but he feigns ignorance. She smiles, realizing how much he truly cares about him. Leaning over her, she wistfully says she wishes her own boss cared that much. With a coy smile, Hayuri tells him to get out now. They share a charged, smiling gaze as sparks fly between them. He smirks, pointing out that's not what she said before. He clasps his hands and gets closer, sweetly asking her to take him in. Flabbergasted, Hayuri thinks he must be out of his mind. Pushing him back slightly, she asks what on earth he's doing. He gently touches her chin, asking if she really doesn't understand. Leaning even closer, he asks if she knows why he's acting this way. He moves in, his lips just inches from hers. Seokpil suddenly sits up, pulling Hayuri into his lap and accusing her of trying to use someone again as she calls out his name in shock. A startled and sweating Hayuri looks back at him. Wansang coldly calls out her trick of worming her way into lonely hearts. He asks again if she really doesn't know why he's acting this way. Seokpil's eyes narrow with fury. In a flashback, a figure in traditional robes rushes through a village. A woman in the crowd excitedly announces that the troupe of entertainers is here. The brown-haired entertainer looks back and offers a gentle smile. He walks with a patroness, relieved that the crowd seems so excited to see them. He gratefully recalls how she gave them everything when they were destitute. Wansang, dressed in elegant robes, announces it's time to prepare for the show. The brown-haired entertainer promises their lady a performance from the heart. He turns with a grin, asking her to watch them closely. He runs to join his fellow entertainers under the cherry blossoms. The beautiful, lantern-lit courtyard is prepared for their performance. Wansang stands ready, holding a traditional mask to his face. He lowers the mask, revealing a sly and confident smirk. Their patroness sits patiently, waiting for the performance to begin. A flustered woman sits on a shocked man's lap, telling him he's doing it again. A gray-haired man with golden eyes explains his habit of slipping into lonely people's hearts. The brown-haired man holds the woman, angrily telling someone to stop making everyone miserable. The gray-haired man retorts that the other should stop making the boss miserable too. The woman, caught between them, complains they only fight in her house and threatens to sue them. The brown-haired man suddenly pulls her into a comforting embrace, silencing her. The gray-haired man forcefully grabs the other's wrist, ordering him to move, but he refuses. With fangs bared, the gray-haired man demands he let go, but the brown-haired man screams no. The brown-haired man is dragged away from the woman, his body contorted in shock. A delicious meal is served, met with thanks. The woman watches as the two men start eating. A sharp thwack sounds as the gray-haired man's chopsticks block the other from eating, telling him to wait for the boss. The gray-haired man smirks, clarifying the food is for everyone, while the brown-haired man protests in vain. The woman warns she'll kick them out if they finish all the food, prompting an off-screen complaint. She leaves to change, telling them to eat first, leaving two tiny cat-eared figures staring after her. The brown-haired man explains at the dinner table that they were cursed and turned into beasts. The scene focuses on the comfortable home she provided them, a symbol of her hospitality. The gray-haired man listens silently, his expression unreadable. The woman, Hayeri, answers a call from a composer who asks what he can do for her. Hayeri beams, praising the composer for their wonderful idea. Her smile fades to panic as the composer asks if she has trainees capable of a powerful, high-note song. Hayeri enthusiastically agrees, and the composer schedules a studio visit for the next day. Surrounded by flames of determination, Hayeri vows to cast Mr. Manchun no matter what. Back in the present, Hayeri tries to break up another fight as Manchun insists the other man started it. Suddenly, Manchun, as a cat, bites the gray-haired man's arm, making him cry out. The gray-haired man recoils from the bite, calling the feisty cat a fatty. Hayeri screams as the cat, Manchun, leaps out the window to escape. From the apartment window, Hayeri watches in relief and confusion as Manchun scampers away on a ledge outside. The gray-haired man calmly reassures her, saying Manchun will return when he's hungry. Hayeri turns to the gray-haired man, calling him boss, and questions why he's siding with Manchun. Worried, she points out that Manchun jumped from a high place and could be injured. Boss holds his scratched wrist, quietly lamenting that he's hurt too. Hayeri runs outside, desperately calling for Mr. Manchun. She spots a group of cats, recognizing them as the local Boss Cats gang. Peeking through the bushes, she watches them with concern. She quietly follows the cat gang through the greenery. Hayeri gasps in shock, finding a shirtless Manchun surrounded by cats. Tears stream down Manchun's face as he desperately pleads for help. Huddled in the bushes, a vulnerable Manchun is cornered by the cats as Hayeri watches, stunned. With tears in his eyes, Manchun again begs for someone to help him. Hayeri, flustered, tells him to hang on while she finds clothes, but he says it's no use. With a powerful bang, a wall suddenly crumbles, startling Hayeri and the cats. A small black and white cat looks stunned after the commotion. A large gray cat shrieks "Yah" as it lunges through the air toward Manchun. Hayeri swiftly catches the attacking cat mid-leap. She holds the hissing gray cat, affectionately calling it the mighty boss kitty. She gently pets the boss cat, soothing its anger and sympathizing with its tough life on the streets. Hayeri smiles warmly as she holds the boss cat's paw in her hand. As Hayeri plays with the cats, a narrator recalls how much they loved her smile, while Manchun, as a cat, walks away. Hayeri looks down in surprise as Manchun, still a cat, proposes they become idols together. A woman with short brown hair kneels, asking a small cat if it has anywhere to go. She smiles brightly, scooping up the cat and inviting it home with her. She happily cuddles her new feline friend, who looks slightly stunned. Arriving at her apartment, a gray-haired man questions if she plans to sleep with the cat. In bed, the gray-haired man warns a small cat next to him not to cling, or he'll kill it. He sits up angrily, accusing another man of saying a cat just to play the victim. A shirtless, dark-haired man in bed admits it, prompting the gray-haired man to ask if he's finally ready to be an idol. The dark-haired man smirks confidently, asking, "What if I am?" The gray-haired man clutches the sheets, vowing to protect Hayeri and not let her get hurt this time. He realizes the dark-haired man's sudden ambition is just a ploy to keep Hayeri away from him. The scene shifts to a modern building as the group walks to meet Heinz, a famous composer. As they walk, the gray-haired man takes Hayeri's hand, and she thinks about making a good connection. He asks what's wrong, and she admits to feeling a bit nervous. The dark-haired man watches them, recalling Heinz's reputation, while Hayeri reiterates her nervousness. The dark-haired man smiles charmingly, calling out Hayeri's name. The gray-haired man confronts him, asking when they got so sneaky close, which the dark-haired man dismisses as a sign of his bond with Hayeri. The two men glare at each other in a tense standoff. Why? They're startled by a blue-haired man who appears behind them asking for producer Hayeri. They scream and cling to each other in fright. The blue-haired man, Heinz, smiles calmly, calling the producer amazing. The two handsome men, one sang in Seokpil, regain their composure. Hayeri eagerly asks to hear the guide track first, and Heinz playfully calls her impatient. Listening intently to the music, Hayeri thinks to herself, nice. She notes that the composer's songs used to feel softer and more delicate. She continues listening, realizing the lyrics are about wet sheets and crumpled shirts. The gray-haired man's expression darkens as he recognizes the voice and asks who's singing. Heinz smirks, revealing the singer is a no-name idol from a failing group, and he's giving their song away. He walks off, casually stating the original artists would rather see their song used than discarded. A man with orange hair barges in, introducing himself as Runner and greeting the producer. Hayeri recognizes him, whispering the name Deokbe. A close-up shows Deokbe's unamused expression. Hayeri wonders if he's another one of her old teammates. The dark-haired man asks Deokbe if he knows him. The gray-haired man smirks, remarking that the guy he knew was a bit taller. Enraged by the height jibe, Deokbe glares as the gray-haired man offers a fake apology. Deokbe sneers, dismissing him as a pretty face who probably can't sing, questioning if he could hit the song's high notes. He continues to taunt the gray-haired man about relying on his looks. The gray-haired man calmly lifts Deokbe's chin. Their faces close. He asks why Deokbe is so aggressive, while the dark-haired man calls him a punk for being too familiar. Watching the three bicker, Hayeri thinks their chemistry is actually not bad. Hayeri steps forward to formally introduce herself as Jang Hyeri. Deokbe turns his back to her, offering a cold, "Nice to meet you." She asks about using his song, confirming that she's thinking of putting it on the shortlist. Hayeri looks up, her expression turning to one of complete shock. Heinz explains to Deokbe that producer Hayeri is famous for creating a trending boy group. He adds that if the song becomes a title track, its composer will become famous as Hayeri looks on with concern. Heinz tells Deokbe his team has no future, and to think carefully, leading Deokbe to declare what he truly wants. He slams his fist on a table, shouting that his real goal is to be an idol. The room falls into a stunned silence as everyone stares at Deokbe's declaration. A young man with orange hair and green eyes looks on with a slightly startled expression. At a restaurant, someone feels like they're breaking up the team, while another person is surprised to see someone named Deokbe holding back. The three sit down to eat, one of them humming thoughtfully. The ashy-haired man describes someone as a walking disaster, but Hayeri expresses her disbelief, recalling he said the same about Manchun. The dark-haired man describes the person as a cheerful and fun ex-military man, which piques Hayeri's interest. She thoughtfully considers the idea of a man's man with a cute face. Declaring she was also in the military, Hayeri's competitive spirit ignites as she discovers her target, Deokbe. The two men react with surprise at her sudden announcement. Hayeri leans in to whisper to the dark-haired man that she and Deokbe were rivals. The dark-haired man explains that Deokbe's pride won't let him give in easily to someone named Seokbel. The ashy-haired man listens in silence, his expression serious. Hayeri cheerfully waves goodbye, telling them to go home first as she has another meeting. Surprised, the two men agree, telling her they'll see her later at home. On the phone, Hayeri explains that she's investigating a shady company because a trainee she desperately wants is under contract there. She's warned about the CEO being a piece of work, but she's determined to meet the trainee one more time. Annoyed by the person on the phone, Hayeri snaps, asking if they're kidding her. A trainee yells into his phone, feeling betrayed after all he's done, declaring that the other members have already quit. As he screams that he has to think about his own future, a shocked Hayeri listens in on the other end. Wham! She slams the door open, revealing a tense scene with two men inside. The orange-haired man looks up with a smirk, despite a bruised lip, asking what she's doing there. Hayeri rushes to his side, furiously demanding to know what the other man's problem is. She protectively holds the orange-haired man, her expression filled with concern. The other man, the CEO, angrily asks if this was why the trainee wanted to transfer. The CEO tells them to go back, but when Hayeri questions him, he furiously shouts, "Go where?" She flinches, startled by his outburst and the escalating tension. When the CEO grabs the trainee, he bites the man's hand and snarls that he's crossed the line. As the two struggle, Hayeri watches helplessly from the floor. The CEO screams in pain as the trainee bites down, glaring with defiance. Hike! The CEO is thrown backward, landing on the floor in terror. The trainee immediately grabs Hayeri's hand, asking if she's able to run. He pulls her along as they make a frantic escape down the hallway. Once outside, he asks a concerned Hayeri what's wrong. He points out two approaching men, identifying them as agency staff from earlier. The staff members confront them, demanding to know where the CEO is and who Hayeri is. One of the men leans in close, thinking he recognizes Hyori, who nervously claims she just has a familiar face. The trainee introduces her as PD Jung Hyori, and the staffer excitedly recalls seeing her on TV. Using the opportunity, the trainee tries to hurry Hyori away, saying they have a schedule to discuss. Realizing they've been tricked, one of the men points and shouts for the other to catch them. A hand grabs Hyori's shoulder as a staff member explains the CEO ordered them to be caught. The orange-haired man punches the staffer holding her, causing him to cry out in pain. The second staff member grabs the trainee from behind, yelling, "You bastard." The trainee grunts in pain as he's punched in the gut. He retaliates with a sharp elbow, sending the man's sunglasses flying as he spews curses. The trainee stands coolly over the two defeated staff members. Hyori stares in complete shock, murmuring, "Amazing." He gives her a knowing smirk as she senses he's about to change. She grabs him, demanding to know what he's hiding and calling him Diokbae, as a staffer begins to stir. Elsewhere, the ashy-haired man thinks to himself that Diokbae has gone weak if he can't handle just two people. The ashy-haired man sits casually atop a neutralized opponent, Kia. With cat ears and a tail now visible, Diokbae argues with the ashy-haired man, who mockingly calls him a little kitten throwing a tantrum. A cat-eared man proposes a wish to whoever catches the leader first. A woman with light brown hair points at a car, declaring they must catch that person. She pounds on the car window, demanding they finish their conversation. The driver laughs nervously, claiming he has to be somewhere urgently. Vroom. The car speeds off, leaving the woman shouting in its dust. An orange-haired man blocks the car, questioning the driver's promise to let him go. Wah! He slams his hand on the pavement, unleashing a powerful force. The car is thrown into the air from the sheer force of the impact. A gray-haired man smirks, announcing he caught him, but the woman asks where Diokbae is. A dark-haired man smiles, presenting a small, unimpressed orange and white cat. The woman covers her mouth in relief that he turned into a cat before getting hurt. The driver holds up a phone, stating that he records all work-related calls as evidence. With her companions looking on menacingly, the woman asks if he'll let Diokbae go now. She smiles, holding out the phone and warmly inviting Diokbae to join her. The scene transitions to a brightly lit grocery store filled with shoppers. The dark-haired man pushes a shopping cart with Diokbae, now a cat, riding inside. From the cat's point of view, the gray-haired man and the woman browse an aisle. The woman holds a cat brush, asking the gray-haired man how he knew to arrive early. The gray-haired man gently scolds her for not mentioning how dangerous the situation was. She reaches for his hand, gratefully saying that he still saved her. He softly takes her hand in his. He smiles down at her as she looks up, captivated by the moment. Watching them, the dark-haired man grows annoyed as she instructs the gray-haired man. He groans in frustration as the cat sits calmly in the cart. The three of them share a warm, happy moment together. A little girl reaches for the cat in the cart, who hisses as her mother says no. The woman scoops up the cat, surprised by the little girl's approach. The girl's mother rushes over, apologizing profusely for her daughter. Standing alone, the woman holds the cat as everyone else walks away. She cuddles the cat close, a bright, contented smile on her face. The cat snuggles into her arms, looking perfectly at ease. The content cat continues to rest peacefully in her embrace. At home, the two men watch a TV program about the definition of an idol. Fresh from a shower, the woman asks about something called defanial. She muses that liking someone starts with thinking, while the cat watches her intently. The dark-haired man sits beside her, asking if she's talking about R'lyeh, startling her. He reveals he created them, just as Diokbae the cat tries to sneak away. She snatches the fleeing cat before he can escape. The two men wonder what's wrong, as the woman worries the cat dislikes her touch. The woman is seen kneeling by a newly purchased cat tree in the living room. She shakes the wobbly cat tree, completely perplexed by the assembly. Frustrated, she flops onto the floor, screaming that she doesn't know what to do. Diokbae, now in human form, scratches his head and asks what the matter is. He leans over her on the floor, getting a closer look. His expression is a mix of concern and confusion. Blushing, he looks on as she sits up and shows him the instruction manual. Thump thump, his heart pounds as he admits it keeps assembling strangely despite his efforts. The woman examines the manual, confused why the result looks wrong. Thump thump. She kneels beside him to explain the instructions, his heart racing at their closeness. She looks up at him with a serious, determined expression. The orange-haired man blushes, looking away shyly. Kia! He recoils, telling someone not to touch him. The ashy-haired man and orange-haired man stare intensely at each other. A brown-haired man yawns sleepily, holding a pillow. He hugs the pillow with a charming, sly smile. Startled, the orange-haired man gasps, blushing furiously. Watching a fan cam, someone thinks that Hayeri seems even more amazing now. Hayeri reassures a sleeping Manchun that he'll be loved after his debut. Manchun suddenly embraces a shocked Hayeri from behind. As Deokbae storms in, Hayeri's chibi form asks what's wrong. He stands silently and seriously before a closed door. In a flashback, a voice calls out to Deokbae, asking about love. A man in traditional robes declares that love is futile and useless. He smiles faintly, petals drifting past him. The man tells Deokbae he can understand by looking at the lady. The man says Deokbae is always on edge, asking if he still dreams of love with Seokpil. He questions why Deokbae holds on to a love that will never return. The man defines love as anticipating a gaze that will never reach him. He reaches out, yearning for the scent and touch he's never known. In the memory, Seokpil smiles, happy and content. Back in the present, the man's story leaves Deokbae speechless. Deokbae realizes with a blush that he has the same expression as the lady. Whump! He collapses to the floor, overwhelmed by emotion. Hayeri asks Deokbae why he followed her. He says it's his room. The dark-haired man checks Deokbae's temperature, confirming he has no fever. The scene shifts to the towering NYMP entertainment building. A blue-haired woman smiles, anticipating the next amazing idol. As music plays, text reveals a new theme. Love is sometimes I'm a monster. In a studio, someone stands over another as the chilling thought repeats. A cat-eared man sits atop a skyscraper, a lonely monster under the moon. Hayeri looks at a monster cat poster on a wall, covered in caution tape. Lyrics narrate a story of being called a monster as the ashy-haired man, with cat-like features, pins her down. He embraces her tightly, tearfully declaring, I'm not a monster. Hayeri gives a big thumbs up, declaring the song is amazing. She asks Deokbae how he composed it so quickly, and he admits he's always felt it. Deokbae explains that the curse made them fear people, who saw them as monsters. Hayeri thoughtfully wonders if humans aren't the more cruel monsters. She muses that only people can hide darkness behind a smile as Deokbae chuckles. He turns away, a slight blush on his cheeks. Hayeri panics, horrified that she must create choreography for a song born from such cruel stories. PFFT. Deokbae laughs as she furiously asks, what's so funny? He gives her a charming, reassuring wink. The ashy-haired man waits outside a door as Deokbae's thoughts trail off. The ashy-haired man's expression is stern as he asks what the confusion is. Deokbae admits he didn't believe in love, but Hayeri notes his new song is a love song. He confirms it's about a man changed by a woman he met. Smiling knowingly, Hayeri asks how his own thoughts on love have changed. Flustered, Deokbae admits that he's starting to want it. Hayeri smiles warmly at Deokbae, glad he's there. Suddenly, the ashy-haired man stands between them, confusing Deokbae. Hayeri looks up with concern, asking what's wrong. The gray-haired man smirks, announcing he's found a choreographer. Hayeri is thrilled by the news, while the gray-haired man tells her and an orange-haired man to get ready for a trip. Excited, Hayeri rushes out the door to start the car, telling them to hurry. The gray-haired man warns the orange-haired man not to be greedy, as they are meant to be loved by many. He continues his speech as the orange-haired man listens with a pained expression, calling him a monster. The orange-haired man glares back in anger, calling out to him. The gray-haired man smiles dismissively, reminding the orange-haired man, Deokbae, that Hayeri is waiting. As they walk along a stone path, the gray-haired man tells Hayeri they are almost there. Hayeri looks around in awe, captivated by the beautiful scenery around them. The gray-haired man clarifies that he found another member, not the choreographer, leaving Hayeri puzzled. As they climb a difficult stone path, the gray-haired man offers Hayeri his hand and urges her to hurry. In the distance, Deokbae waves enthusiastically, while the gray-haired man looks on with weary annoyance. Hayeri anxiously encourages the gray-haired man, Seokpil, to hurry up. Seokpil announces their arrival at Wonsangsa, but Hayeri wonders why the temple is so crowded. As the three of them observe the crowd, Hayeri asks if the temple is famous, and Seokpil confirms it is. Hayeri watches the scene with a confused and curious expression. Seokpil watches her with a knowing, sly smile. Hayeri suddenly senses a rhythm, recognizing it as a perfect 16 beat in astonishment. A huge crowd gathers, excitedly taking photos of a small creature flying above a stone carving. Deokbae asks if they should move forward, but Hayeri is hesitant. Seokpil moves behind Hayeri, gently guiding her forward and asking if she can see. Deokbae watches them with a shocked and worried expression. Hayari's eyes widen in shock as she finally sees what the crowd is looking at. She's stunned to see a massive crowd of fans taking pictures of her. A wall of phones is pointed directly at the building they are in front of. Overwhelmed by the attention, Hayari shields her eyes and stumbles backward in shock. She falls right on top of Seokpil, groaning in pain. Lying on the ground, Seokpil smiles and claims his strength gave out, while Deokbae calls him weak. Deokbae smiles and offers his hand to help Hayari up. Seokpil suddenly pulls Hayari into his arms, asking if she saw. Deokbae looks on in disbelief as Hayari stares, flustered at Seokpil's face. A vision reveals a cat named Wonsang, praised as the best dancer in Choseon. A group of 4 women are gathered around a table with cups and plates in front of them. The woman on the left is holding a cell phone. The woman next to her is wearing a jean jacket and a brown hat. They all appear to be engaged in conversation. The setting looks like a cafe or a restaurant. The vision repeats, declaring the cat Wonsang is the greatest dancer in all of Joseon. Still holding Hayari, Seokpil asks again if she sees, causing her to cry out. Deokbae angrily pulls Seokpil off of Hayari, telling him to let go. Holding hands with Hayari after helping her up, Deokbae asks if she's okay as she resolves to find Wonsang. Seokpil's hand gently stops her, telling her that it's no use. She sees a crowd of women fawning over a black cat as a rumor spreads that Wonsang only likes girls. Seokpil explains that this is how Wonsang gathers love energy. Seokpil taunts Deokbae, saying Wonsang isn't like him, as Hayari looks on with a dark smile. As Deokbae seethes, Seokpil provokes him about being with a girl, drawing the crowd's attention to their brewing fight. Seokpil accuses Deokbae of being possessive as Hayari tries to intervene, but Deokbae threatens to kill him. Hayari screams for them to stop, shocking them both into silence. An annoyed Wonsang is being petted as unseen people mention a fight that broke out. Back home, Seokpil and Deokbae are forced to kneel with their hands raised in punishment. Hayari sits before them with her arms crossed, sternly telling them to put their hands down. The moment they are addressed, the 2 men immediately start glaring and arguing with each other again. The ashy-haired man smirks, asking if the plan is to bring Wonsang back. The orange-haired man nervously admits that he and the other man fought. Someone proposes a toast to make up before they go find Wonsang again. The ashy-haired man silently accepts a shot glass. Cheers! The 3 of them clink their glasses together. Hayari smiles, enjoying the moment with her own drink. She encourages Seokpil to have another glass and asks Deokbae about his tolerance. Giggling, Hayari sips her drink, clearly feeling cheerful. Hayari insists she isn't drunk as the orange-haired man tries to stop her from drinking more. The ashy-haired man stops him, simply saying, "Don't." He looks on with a slight blush, his expression softening. The scene shifts to a bustling night festival under a beautiful full moon. Stumbling through the crowd, Hayari admits she's getting drunk. Feeling a strange sensation, she wonders at the pretty sight around her. Whoa! She loses her balance and stumbles forward into the crowd. She bumps into a man and they both apologize to each other. A hand touches her shoulder and she wonders how Seokpil followed her. A handsome, dark-haired man with purple eyes asks if she's hurt. Flustered that it's a stranger, she's pulled close as he remarks on the crowd. He holds her hand, leading her safely through the throng of people. Blushing, she glances back at him with a pensive look. She's stunned by his striking good looks. He gently tilts her chin up, his hand on her shoulder. He warns her to be careful, as people carrying torches pass by them. He chuckles softly, and she smiles back warmly. He pulls her close, announcing the start of the fireworks, and his smoothness reminds her of someone. As fireworks light up the sky, she whispers that it's beautiful. He leans in very close, their faces nearly touching in the warm glow. The ashy-haired man is suddenly seen running toward them. A hand reaches out with urgent intent. The ashy-haired man grabs the dark-haired man by his collar as Hayari watches in shock. Hayari cries out Seokpil's name in alarm. Seokpil glares at the man, sweating and breathing heavily with anger. The dark-haired man smiles calmly, greeting Seokpil as if it's been a while. He repeats his calm greeting to a tense Seokpil. The man touches Seokpil's ear as Seokpil starts to question him. To Seokpil's complete surprise, the man pulls him into a hug. Seokpil stands frozen in the hug, utterly bewildered. The dark-haired man smiles fondly, telling Seokpil he hasn't changed. Seokpil remains tense and confused within the embrace. The dark-haired man tightens the hug, adding, "Me too." Hayari watches, confused as she realizes the man might be Wonsang. The two men talk as Hyeri observes the unexpected reunion. The man introduces himself as Wansang, just as an announcer calls for performers. Wansang notes that he's being called for his performance. The crowd buzzes with excitement in front of the brightly lit stage. Walking with the ashy-haired man, Hyeri remarks on the festival's lively atmosphere. Backstage, a thought bubble suggests Wansang temporarily became human to perform. Wansang smiles knowingly, suggesting his appearance here was planned. He smirks, provocatively lifting his shirt to reveal his toned abs. Seokpil covers Hyeri's eyes, asking what he is doing, then teasing that she already saw. He smirks, telling his boss she got a good show. Hyeri, looking flustered, insists on being left alone with Wansang. Looking over her head, Seokpil calmly asks her why. He gestures to a handsome, dark-haired man in the distance, implying he's the reason. Seokpil leans in and whispers his true intention to Hyeri, casting. Stunned by her off-screen refusal, Seokpil exclaims in disbelief. The handsome, dark-haired man, Wansang, smiles with an air of confidence. In a flashback, a woman asks a man resembling Seokpil if a beautiful lakeside is where he wanted to be. The woman in the flashback smiles kindly at him. The man resembling Seokpil smiles warmly back at her. As she walks away with a heavy heart, another dark-haired man watches her from the shadows. In a heated argument, the woman protests an arranged marriage to her father, who declares it her duty. She angrily refuses to be married off like an object to a stranger, as a grim-faced man watches. Her father shouts about the gossip spreading through the streets about her mingling with jesters. Kneeling in despair, a man cries out that he never wished to be born into such a family. After seeing the other man, the woman runs desperately through a blooming orchard, calling for Seokpil. She clings to Seokpil, begging him to run away with her from her father's arranged marriage. Seokpil looks down at her plea with a silent, pained expression. A symbolic shattering of glass represents their hands parting forever. As Seokpil walks away, the heartbroken woman weakly calls his name. With a look of utter despair, she admits she cannot go with him. The dark-haired man from the shadows runs, lamenting that he was always one step behind. He lunges forward, reaching out to stop her. Grabbing her arm, he pulls her back as she looks on in shock. The dark-haired man angrily confronts Seokpil, grabbing him by the collar. His face contorts with sweat and rage during the confrontation. Back in the present, Hyeri and Seokpil walk together through the festival. Seokpil laughs heartily, enjoying their time together. Hyeri makes a deal, saying she'll help him if he helps persuade Wansang, as he boasts about his skills. Suddenly, a crowd rushes past, pushing Hyeri aside as she stumbles in confusion. Wansang appears silently behind the disoriented Hyeri. As they approach a traditional building, Hyeri nervously asks if they can just walk in. Inside, she turns to Wansang, asking about the performance. Looking at him, she recalls that they are cursed men who need to receive love. Wansang walks past her, dismissing her knowledge as insufficient. Hyeri thoughtfully asks why he was in that situation. He forcefully grabs her chin, revealing a dark secret. Because we're murderers. Leaning closer, he warns her to stay away from Seokpil. Hyeri challenges him, asking if he's trying to keep her away from Seokpil. Wansang moves in closer, his face just inches from hers. Miles away, Seokpil senses danger, desperately calling out Hyeri's full name. He stands alone, sweating and worried, whispering her name. A dark purple screen declares, "Now it's your turn to burn." The scene of Seokpil calling for Hyeri repeats with a promotional chibi character. A staff member approaches a startled Seokpil, confirming if he's an acquaintance of Mr. Wansang. The man informs a silent Seokpil that Wansang has requested his presence. With a pained but resolute expression, Seokpil clutches his chest and agrees to go. He grinds his teeth in frustration, questioning why he must face him. A staff member panics, telling Seokpil he has to perform in Wansang's place, but Seokpil angrily denies ever agreeing to it. The frantic staff member insists he must go on stage immediately. Seokpil smiles and waves goodbye, announcing he's leaving as the desperate staff member shouts for him to wait. To stop him, the staff member offers to reveal the location of the person Seokpil is looking for if he performs. Inside a quiet room, Wansang gently holds Hyeri's face as she reluctantly agrees to his terms. He bites his lip, drawing blood, before leaning in for a kiss. After the kiss, Wansang and Hyeri gaze into each other's eyes. Adjusting his collar, Hyeri tells him he can stop trying to forget the person he loved. She smiles slyly, revealing that she's figured things out. In another location, a hand slams a cup down as someone shouts in anger. Deokbae yells at Seokpil, shocked that he did not realize Wansang liked the young lady from their past. Seokpil teases that he liked her too for feeding them, enraging Deokbae, who insists that's not what he meant. As Deokbae stews, Seokpil calmly offers him another drink. Deokbae drunkenly calls Seokpil a heartless psychopathic narcissist, while Seokpil asks why he's so worked up. Flushed with emotion, Deokbae shouts that it's because the young lady liked Seokpil. Seokpil calmly refills his spilled drink, as Deokbae realizes this history is why Wansang avoided them. In a chibi flashback, Seokpil encourages the drinking, as Deokbae drunkenly demands his glass be filled. Deokbae becomes increasingly flustered as Seokpil urges him to drink up. With Deokbae passed out on the table, Seokpil calmly declares that the ordeal is finally over. He turns to a silent Hyeri, asking her to please forget what she just heard. Hyeri looks at him intently, asking if he wasn't in love with the young lady as well. Seokpil smirks dismissively as he takes a drink, questioning the very idea of love. With a knowing smile, Hyeri asks if he was actually trying to make the others jealous. She confidently tells him there's no way a plan like that would work. Wansang suddenly appears behind Hyeri, patting her head and asking what if it is working. Thump. He proposes a bet. The winner gets a wish from the loser. On stage, a figure in a brilliant blue robe appears under spotlights, shocking a staff member in the audience. Seokpil, now on stage, elegantly performs a sword dance. He smiles with confidence, captivating the audience with his performance. Hyeri watches from the side, completely stunned into silence. Wansang appears behind her, and she apologizes, admitting it's her first time seeing Seokpil dance. He asks if she's curious why Seokpil took his place on stage, and she asks why. Leaning close, Wansang reveals he lets Seokpil perform on the condition that he'd be told where Hyeri was. As Seokpil finishes his dazzling performance, Wansang tells Hyeri that he believes he has won their bet. Seokpil's performance reaches its climax under the full moon as Wansang watches from the sidelines. Wansang observes the scene with a smug, satisfied smile. Backstage, Seokpil collapses in exhaustion as staff praise his amazing performance and ask what he and Wansang did. A chibi drawing depicts Seokpil flying away, leaving Hyeri and Wansang behind. Seokpil, still in his performance attire, sits before Hyeri and Wansang, who asks what she's so curious about. Wansang asks Seokpil why he really went on stage, questioning if it was just to find him. Seokpil explains that he saw the hopeful faces in the crowd and simply couldn't walk away. He smiles wryly, calling his inability to disappoint fans an occupational hazard. Wansang stands over a seated Seokpil, demanding to know his wish now that he has lost the bet. With a bright, determined smile, Hyeri extends her hand. She warmly declares that she will help him forget the young lady. A slightly blushing Seokpil looks on, thinking this should be an interesting spectacle. Back at their home, Deokbae stands awkwardly, wrapped in a large white blanket. He excitedly runs toward Wansang for a hug, calling out his name. Hap! Deokbae clings to Wansang from behind while he cooks, asking if dinner is ready yet. Wansang smiles, telling the excited chibi Deokbae he's almost done. Seokpil, in pajamas, pulls on his hood in confusion. He turns to find a stunned and silent Deokbae, staring back. A chase begins as Seokpil taunts Deokbae, calling him a tiny kitten, while Wansang cheekily prays for Deokbae to grow taller, infuriating him. Seokpil hides behind Wansang, feigning fear as an angry Deokbae shouts for him. Whack! Wansang bonks Deokbae on the head with a ladle, telling him that's enough. Seokpil hugs an annoyed Wansang while telling Deokbae to behave, but Wansang tells Seokpil to stop acting so innocent himself. Hyeri stands with her arms crossed, looking thoroughly unamused by their antics. She rushes towards them, calling out for them to wait a moment. Hyeri peeks through the door, nervously greeting an unseen woman. An angry neighbor in a red shirt demands to know why they're making so much noise. Hyeri offers a strained apology as Seokpil tugs on her shirt from behind. Stepping forward, Seokpil puts his arm around Hyeri, promising to be careful and calling her honey. In a soft, flowery vision, he sweetly asks what's going on. He confidently puts his arm around a confused Hyeri, telling her to leave it to him. The neighbor explains that she lives downstairs and the noise has been unbearable, but Seokpil calmly asks if there's a problem. He offers a flirtatious apology, slyly suggesting things got heated because it's hot. He cheerfully waves the neighbor off, wishing her a nice day. Turning back to Hyeri, he smugly asks if he handled the situation well. She grabs him in a panic, warning him about how fast gossip spreads in their building. A flustered Seokpil blushes, asking if she means gossip about him. Downstairs, two women gossip about the famous PD living with a handsome man. As the gossip continues, Deokbae is seen offering to carry Hyuri's trash bag for her. He forcefully takes the bag, leaving the nearby gossiping neighbors completely shocked. The scene shifts to an overview of their bustling apartment complex. Won-sang gently warns a distracted Hyuri that she's going to trip. The neighbors are shocked again, realizing this is a different man from the one they saw before. They gasp in unison, horrified by the realization that she's living with three handsome men. Suddenly, a fourth man runs toward them, shouting Hyuri's name. He catches her in a joyful hug from behind, exclaiming that he's finally found her. The neighbors are left to wonder in silence if there's a fourth man. Overwhelmed, Hyuri sits alone in the dark, convinced this must all be a dream. Her apartment is in chaos, with cats jumping and running everywhere. She slumps onto the table in despair as the phone suddenly rings. Startled, she jumps up and answers the call with a gasp. As the cats watch her, she discusses a potential investment on the phone. The caller's words leave her completely stunned as she exclaims, "You're investing?" The scene transitions to a large, foreboding mansion under a dark sky. Inside, two men and a woman sit together in a lavish room. The man with ashy hair listens intently with a serious expression. His companion bites his nails nervously, thinking about the rumor that the mansion is haunted. The dark-haired man silently wonders why they insisted on meeting here, as his chibi self is teased for being a scaredy cat. The ashy-haired man leans back on the sofa, a thoughtful look on his face. From a high perch, a pristine white cat with striking blue eyes observes the scene below. A cute chibi character thanks the readers for their support. Back in the mansion, the man looks up thoughtfully as Hyuri questions him. An older gentleman enters the room, apologizing for his lateness after a visit to his physician. The group stands to formally greet their host, thanking him for the invitation. The host laughs warmly but breaks into a cough, asking them to please be seated. The grand room feels vast and empty as the host and his assistant stand alone. Three people sit in a tense, silent waiting room. Hyuri sweats, feeling overwhelmed by the strange and heavy atmosphere. The gray-haired host sits in contemplation, an assistant standing behind him. Won-sang smirks slightly while Hyuri watches the host with a neutral expression. Won-sang suddenly addresses the host, observing that he hasn't been sleeping well lately. He smiles knowingly, suggesting he might know the reason for the man's sleepless nights. The host remains silent, a bead of sweat trickling down his face. His expression shifts to one of pure terror. In a flashback, the man lies in bed, weakly asking if anyone is there as a ghostly figure appears. A handsome man with long white hair smiles, calling him grandfather. Startled, the host gasps, demanding to know who he is and how he got in. The white-haired man calmly states that he will need the host's help. Panicked, the host scrambles out of bed, screaming for Secretary Kang. With a menacing smile, the white-haired man warns that he'll die if he doesn't cooperate. Back in the present, the host confesses that the ghost forced him to support their idol group, leaving Hyuri stunned. Hyuri struggles to process the unbelievable story, an investment tip from a threatening ghost. The pristine white cat from before appears, representing the unexpected reason for the investment. The cat gracefully leaps onto the host's lap as the group accepts this is their opportunity. Stroking the cat, the host reveals there's a condition attached to the investment. The cat looks up curiously as Hyuri asks what kind of condition it is. A close-up of the black-haired man shows his serious expression as he states the first condition, find that ghost. The host slams his fist down, adding the second condition, have the ghost debut with them, declaring the man is worth it. He gushes about how incredibly handsome the ghost was, leaving Hyuri, Seokpil, and Won-sang steaming in disbelief. An assistant leads the three down a long hall, informing them they can stay at the mansion until the rain stops. The dark-haired assistant stops at a door, announcing that this is their room. Hyuri thanks her as the group is shown to their room for the night. Inside the room, Hyuri wonders how on earth this situation is even possible. She panics, clutching her head as she shouts in disbelief, "Are you supposed to make a ghost debut?" Suddenly, a cold hand touches her forehead, startling her. Seokpil smirks, asking if his hand was too cold for her. Hyuri grabs his hand in shock, asking why it's as cold as a block of ice. Won-sang stands, suggesting they're all just on edge from the day's worries. Seokpil holds Hyuri's hand, telling Won-sang that he and Hyuri are on edge. He then adds himself to the list, completing the thought. Won-sang watches them, a bead of sweat on his cheek as he questions Seokpil's assessment. A flash of lightning illustrates the explanation that stress makes one's senses overly sensitive. Seokpil grabs Wonsang by the collar, demanding to know if he was aware of who was there. He glares at Wonsang, questioning how he could let them walk into a situation involving someone like Hyun. The two men face off in a silent, tense hallway. Their confrontation escalates into a fierce standoff as a scream rings out. The scream came from Hyerai, who is now lying alone in a large bed, wondering what happened. She stretches, wondering when she fell asleep, until an unfamiliar voice asks if she's awake. Startled, she realizes she's never heard that man's voice before. Kaya! She screams as she sees the shirtless, white-haired man from the host's story. Clutching the sheets in terror, she identifies him as a ghost. The man sits on her bed, calmly confirming that he is indeed a ghost. He leans in close, whispering a chilling threat to not scream again unless she wants to die.